Ladies and gentlemen, we've been hyping this one up for probably, the past few days. Over the weekend on X and Instagram, I was on the Red Zone Blitz podcast. Shout out to them as well over in Vancouver. They were asking me, man, who do you have on Tuesday? I kept saying, Ghost of Texas Football. Ghost of Texas Football. He's coming on the show. We've been kind of interacting on X, and we finally came to, a date, a time, and now we're ready to rock and roll. Guys, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We are so back with college football. I'm excited. I'm Joel Norris. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram is at Pigskin_Frenzy. Guys, follow, like each episode, comments down below. You'll follow on there, share around with others, and you'll see a lot of crazy posts from me on X and Instagram. There's Instagram stories as well on there for trivia questions. You're going to love those. Go and answer today's trivia question as well. There's also our website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Guys, we are so thankful to be doing this show. We proclaim Jesus on this show each and every day. We have a very special guest that is also has faith in the Lord. So we're going to dive deep into that here in a little bit. We are so thankful for him to coming on to this show today, and we're so thankful for the Lord for blessing us with guests each and every week. Without Jesus, we would not be doing this show. 5,200 plus listeners and counting. We also have 53,000 listeners coming up here shortly. That number is just climbing and climbing, so we're going to keep on stacking with Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, very special guest today, hyping it up for a little bit. College football is back, and what better way to kick it off with a very important game with Texas and Ohio State. And to talk about that here in a little bit, and we have a very special guest is from Ghost and Friends YouTube channel on YouTube. Subscribe and follow on all platforms. It's at 40 Acre Vibes on YouTube and 40 Acre Vibes on X and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Ghost of Texas Football with us. Ghost, what's up, man? How are you doing?
Hey, doing great, brother. Honored and blessed to be here with you, Joel. But most importantly, brother, like you said a bit earlier, we're here. We're game week it's week one. Everybody's in action. It's going to be a long week, but hey, we're finally made it, man. And you can kind of taste it in the air, smell it in the air, rather.
Absolutely. I'm pumped, man. Like, literally, I saw the schedule, and when I was looking at it earlier when I woke up, I literally, the goosebumps and chills. You know how, when The Rock on wrestling slaps his arm and, rubbing his arm, the mana and everything? That's what I was literally doing. I was like, okay, this chills, man. I got goosebumps right now. Instead of Saturday, August 30th, it says Saturday on there. So we're kicking off. For Pigskin Frenzy, at least there's a special Wednesday edition. I'll announce that at the end of the show too, which is crazy. But let's talk about life outside of football media. When you're not doing this, when you're not creating content for college football, talk about your life outside of football media and what's Ghost like outside of it.
Well, Ghost is a full-time dad for the most part. I've got 3 little ones, man, and so very, very grateful and blessed to have them in my daily life and to try to fill their daily routine up with love, positivity, and teach them about this world that one day they'll be out on their own end. And so that's my main priority in life, brother. As far as work goes, I do a little bit of golf teaching down here south of Austin, Texas. Was a former high school football coach, baseball coach as well. Offensive coordinator my last 4 years, and had a lot of fun doing it, man. But family first, and for me, I hate missing the little things. I'm the guy that's at every kindergarten award ceremony and second grade lunch once a week, and so it was getting tough to do that as far as being a coach, and so a little more freedom in the golf teaching world for me, and that's why I made that move.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you said golf teaching. Everybody, and I keep saying it was last Tuesday with Daily Joy. Go back and listen to that episode, ladies and gentlemen. Small plug. Then you had Tom Fornelli on this past Thursday from CBS Sports and Cover 3 podcast. He said that he wants to play golf in his spare time. Everybody's playing golf. It's almost like a sign that I need to play golf. Like, was everyone's playing golf? So I don't know. Is it a sign that I need to play golf, or?
I need you out there, Joel. We can talk football. We can record from the golf course, and we do have plans to be doing things like that soon over on the Ghost and Friends channel. Also a small plug. And so, yeah, get into it, man. It's a beautiful sport. It's something that all 3 of my kids play, and I tell them this is something you can do for the rest of your life. You can make business connections through this, personal connections, relationship building. You challenge yourself on a golf course. And I am genuinely of the opinion that you find out more on the golf course about who you are as an athlete than you can in any other space.
Absolutely. And not only that, I mean, I know it's not really, golf, but everything that I made a joke about it on X. I'm like, man, I was back in Mississippi a few weeks back playing, doing a media day for somebody and doing it for a high school, Central Hines Academy, Mississippi. Shout out to them for high school football. But friends with the coach over there, and I was doing a media day, but I was also hanging out with friends, and I was playing Wii golf. So I made a joke about playing Wii golf. And I was like, do I need to get on a real golf course? And I was joking and saying, you know what? If I play Wii golf, I can kill it on the golf course. Guys, that's a joke. Don't come at me. That's not true. All right. I would die on the golf course. But
I've got a decently funny story on how I got into golf. And it's not, it's not your standard story if you don't mind me sharing that.
No, dude, go ahead.
So again, I was a high school football coach at the time, and I have two younger brothers, both coaches, both better coaches than I ever was. One still coaching high school, one at the college level. And the middle brother, it was his first year of coaching, right? And I had my second daughter, and she was just a couple of months old, and he had not had time to come down and visit yet. And so he comes down, and we've got some other family there and whatnot, and he's like, hey, let's get out of the house and go play some golf. No, man, I'm not playing golf. I've never picked up a golf club. I don't care to do that. I'm from a small place in East Texas. We don't have a golf team. Half the schools there don't even have volleyball. It's year-round basketball. We care football, baseball, basketball is, where everybody's minds were at. Well, I let him talk me into it. He's like, free round, maybe a couple free drinks. We'll go hang out and have fun. I'm like, okay. He gets out there. I mean, he's hitting towering iron shots, balls touching the moon, and I'm just like, where did you learn to do this? And he's like, while he was in college in Waco, he's like, there's a golf course right across the road from the apartment complex. So he had gone over there and just been silently figuring out this sport of golf, for about 2 years. And this is a kid that, he's my little brother. I'd never let him beat me in a single thing in my life. And so from that moment, whatever I did in life, I was like, he's not beating me in golf. I went out and got a membership 2 weeks later. Before I even had a golf bag, I went and got a membership at a golf course, so I knew that I could go somewhere every day and practice and play. And it did take me about 2 years, but we haven't lost to him since. So mission accomplished, and I hope he hears that.
Absolutely, man. I mean, hey, if I play golf, I'm probably going to, first time, really, I'll either A, pull a hammy, or B, just suck so bad that it's just, I mean, but hey, you only learn by going out there, right? You learn by going out there. So that's what I need to do. Let's talk about, honestly, getting into sports media, honestly, and talk about what made you want to get into this space, and just talk about what made you want to just talk about college football.
Well, I mean, I've been in love with college football since 1996, man. Can tell you where I was, what was going on, and just kind of the hold that it took over me. I grew up watching Texas get whipped by Oklahoma, 5 straight times, 2000 to 2004, and just remember almost being terrified of Bob Stoops, but thinking like, I want to do what he's doing. I want to be that imposing mind on the defensive side of the ball that terrifies 12-year-olds from Texas. But, as I realized, as I told you earlier, coaching wasn't really, going to work out for me as far as trying to, tie that into being a family man and never missing anything. And that's not a knock on the coaches who can make it work, because some people just, they use their time better than I do. And so I'm not saying that. Just for me personally, it didn't work out. And so, yeah, as far as I never anticipated having a podcast or a big Twitter account, I guess if you'll say, but Texas lost to Kansas in 2021 at DKR to cap off a pretty dang embarrassing season. We lost 6 straight Big 12 games in that stretch. And in that moment on the drive home, I have about a 43-mile drive home from our stadium, I created the Ghost of Texas football account just to have some fun, laugh at Texas a little bit. But of course, I was going to share my opinions and my takes, and a lot of people were really dogging Steve Sarkisian after that season. But I saw a little bit through the murky waters, and I was like, you know what? I think we have more of a football coach than we've had here, since Mac Brown, and I'm going to give him a little bit more time than maybe some others will. The account kind of grew, man. I made some dumb bets on the X app. We don't have to get into all that, but couple of those really took that account and made them grow pretty quick, or made it grow a little bit quickly, expedited that process a bit. But then, yeah, I have the younger brother that I aforementioned that's at the college level. He has been on me about producing YouTube content for years. He said, you love to talk, college football. There's no reason, you shouldn't be doing this. A lot of people are doing this. Get into it, trust it, and just have fun, see where it goes. And I told him it was crazy for months, man. Last June, June before last, I went on a golf trip to Arizona, and he was pestering me about it for like 2 or 3 nights in a row at family dinners because he lives here in town with me. And so I told him, you know what, I'm going to go to Arizona, and I'll be gone a week. I'm going to pray on it. I'll pray on it every single night. And I'll tell you what God tells me as soon as I know. The day I came home from the golf trip, June 1st, 2024, I had 2 DMs from 2 different podcast groups, one Oklahoma and one with Georgia fans, requesting that I come on. And it was my very first podcast experience. But right then and there, I knew that I had a clear as day message, and I'd be an idiot to ignore it. And so I told little brother, I was like, all right, you get your wish. I'm going to let it roll. We'll see what happens. But most importantly, man, thank you for the support. Thank you for the guidance. And I tell him thank you very, very often, man, because if he is not pushing me to do it, it never happens.
Absolutely, man. You mentioned the Lord, and you mentioned how he guided you to do this. Talk about your faith in Jesus, what it means to you. Because on this show, we're really, really open about our faith in God, and we're open about our faith with what the Lord is doing and how he's blessed me to do this. I mean, without him, I wouldn't be, doing this. I was 2 years old in Chapel Hill, my parents took me there, and they said I wasn't going to be able to talk. I was going to be mute my whole life. So
I did not know that.
Literally when I was supposed to be mute my whole life, not even going to talk. But by the grace of God, now I'm sitting here, August 26th. Saturday we're kicking off football season. I'm talking, and we're on episode 249 of Pigskin Frenzy, and I'm just running my mouth. But talk about what college football, not really what college football, but talk about what the Lord has done for you in your life, and talk about your faith in Jesus just overall.
Man, I was essentially, raised from a faith standpoint by my grandmother and my great grandmother who lived across the street from me growing up. Even if mom and dad weren't making it to church, grandma and grandma had me in Sunday school, had me sitting in there in big church with them. I wasn't in daycare or, in there with the babies. They had me in there. They had me awake. I remember falling asleep many, many times, and grandma gets a little stern, and you pay a little bit more attention to the message. And, so right then and there, faith was always, a forefront of my life, because that's each and every Sunday. I did RAs as a child, and then getting up through high school, I really was a guy that tried to incorporate faith, because you looked at a guy like Tim Tebow, who had no issue in telling teammates and telling the world about how he felt about the Lord. And obviously, as far as guys who get on big, or athletes who get on big platforms and talk about their faith, he might be at the pinnacle, not that it's a competition or anything of that nature, but, that really instilled in me, it was like, be a leader in more ways than just like knowing the play call, knowing the snap count, knowing where this wide receiver's cut needs to be. And so that was something that I struggled with at times, to be honest with you, Joel, because not everybody wants to hear you talk about what Jesus has done for them, man. But, once you power through that and you don't care, and then you get just one guy in that locker room that he turns around and, you see him maybe praying, and it's not on you. You don't take the credit for that. But that through the Lord, you have helped establish a connection with him and him grow closer in some type of sense. And so then it becomes, an everyday battle, an everyday mission. Hey, is there a way that I can go out some way today and draw someone closer to the Lord? Can I do that? And I fell at that very, very often, Joel, as probably many expect. I'm far from a perfect person. Make daily mistakes, of course, and I tell my children that all the time. I've never been the father of a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old, but God has grace with me. I'm going to have grace with you, and we're going to figure all this stuff out together. And again, it's a daily battle in that walk with faith, being a parent and trying to raise kids that look to the Lord the same way that my grandmother's had me looking. And so it's, as you said, without Jesus Christ, without salvation, and his sacrifice on the cross, there is no opportunity for me, in my opinion, to be where I'm at in life. I still have a long way to go, man, but every step that I've taken, he's been right there with me, and it's very, very grateful, very, very humble. And, I know that there's more battles ahead, brother, but I'm excited to see what he has in store for me.
Absolutely, man. And I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm glad that you mentioned that. It was a really, really good story. And without Jesus, we wouldn't be doing this. You know what I mean? Isaiah 41:10 is my favorite Bible verse. Everybody who is, who are fellow believers out there listening to the show, go and listen, look it up and read it. It's a really good verse. I mean, honestly, God is with us regardless. So regardless of what we're going through, he is for us. He is with us. And, who can stand against us, right? When we have Jesus. So I'm thankful that you shared that. I'm thankful that we can come up here and talk about that and not be afraid to proclaim that. Because, all of this, literally, growing in this space and developing relationships and connections in the sport, it's all Jesus. You know what I mean? So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Amen. And I'll say, there's moments along the way, man, that you can really beat yourself up in this world, and it's really, really easy to get down on yourself and to, look in the mirror and not be as happy with what you see as, Jesus would intend for you to do. He doesn't want us being as hard as we are on ourselves, but especially as a parent, man, I beat myself up all the time. Last night was really cool. So I come home a little bit late last night, and my 12-year-old had made the 7th grade volleyball team at a local middle school, and she was so very excited to show me the Bible verse that she had picked out to write on her shoes for game days. And so those little things, and just knowing, her mind is right there, and that she sees, the Lord in her daily walk, that does make me dang proud. And of course, man, I think it's very important that we get up here on any platform that we have, and that we express, the love that we have for Christ, the love that he has for us, and all the things that he's going to do for us, past, present, and future.
Absolutely. And I just pulled it up. So Isaiah 41:10 says, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So it's honestly just do not have fear, because God is with you regardless. So I'm glad that you told me your story. I'm glad that your daughter made the middle school volleyball team at your local middle school. That's awesome. Congratulations to that. That's awesome. I just think that God works in great ways, and the Lord works in mysterious ways. So I'm thankful for you coming on. I'm thankful for everybody who's listening in and tuning in each and every we talk about crazy. The crazy sport that is college football, right? So I'm thankful for that, man. I'm thankful for you sharing your faith and your story on here. So that's awesome. Let's talk about your Ghosts and Friends channel, because I think that's unique. Not only that, not only are you doing it, you're having other people come on your YouTube channel, and you're storing their content on your YouTube channel. You're building connections with everybody and saying, "Hey, man, all is welcome." Right? So talk about that, and what led you to create the Ghosts and Friends YouTube channel.
Well, so, going back to my brother Bryce and the story, him pushing me to do that throughout a couple of years and coming home from the golf trip. So that night, if you go look at my Ghosts and Friends channel, I created it much earlier than I ever aired an episode. Because I went through and I was like, you know what, if this is going to work, I'm going to go full bore with it. So I didn't air an episode until I had 2 months of guests planned out. I was like, we're gonna have a blueprint. We're gonna make sure that we have quality content. But most importantly, man, I am a Texas guy, Ghost of Texas Football. You see that name, you're not gonna think this guy is really talking much other than Texas football, right? But that is not how my account has kind of grown. I've always wanted to be a bit of a community builder and just talk ball without the jabs. Okay, I won't say that. Without the real intense jabs. I'm trying to find an accurate way to describe that. Rivals throw banter at each other. Rivals have fun. That's completely okay, man. But I wanted to just kind of have an account where we could all do that together without it going over the line. And of course it still does. You go through my comments and there's some absolute disgusting things in there at times. But, I've got 11,000, which isn't crazy, 11,000 followers on Twitter. A lot of people would see that and be like, oh, I would assume he's got 10,500 Texas followers. I think I have a pretty dang split base between Texas fans, Oklahoma fans, A&M fans, and then I've slowly, filtered into SEC country, ACC country after adding a Savannah 2J, to the mix. But so yeah, last season had a lot of good traction with it, man. I did a lot of shows regarding Texas one night a week, talking SEC ball. We covered Big 12, a little bit, just whatever was relevant. And fast forward to springtime, we're still working golf, we're doing baseball, basketball, just not quite as at a high as volume of shows as we were doing. And that was just due to some personal stuff going on with me. Wasn't really able to get it out at the moment. But yeah, so once all that cleared up, man, and I knew I was really open and free to get back into it and go at it, hey, let's just create a big umbrella of community builders that all have fan bases that are passionate and people that care about it. And of course, I've been on the hunt for people who are maybe not media necessarily, but personality first. Personality, people that can have conversations about ball without their feelings getting hurt, that don't maybe have a limitation on the things they can say because they're worried about sources within that university or connections with this source. And so, just to be open and honest, and again, we're not on there just getting crazy or anything. It's just some good, honest ball discussion. We've got Big 12 coverage, ACC coverage, G5/G6 now coverage, SEC. Trying to get just everybody that wants to talk ball, man. That just can be a home base for you.
Awesome. I mean, and the thing is, what's so good is, I think when you mentioned this a little bit, a lot of people just get carried away with their banter, It's fun to say, oh man, your team, sucks, in a playful jab, right? But like when it comes to just, okay, maliciously just attacking them, for being a fan of that team, it's like, come on, man, you don't have to do that, right? So I'm glad that you mentioned that, and you create a space where it's okay, fun, friendly banter about teams, just about college football takes that doesn't have to go over the line, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people have crazy takes, but we're not going to attack. We're not going to attack them personally for it. We're going to tease and joke, but we're not going to sit there and just beat them up for it, right? And I'm glad that you created that space where everybody feels welcome and with open arms to store their stuff there. But not only that, just to talk in college football.
I mean, we're all people, man, at the end of the day. I take this burnt orange off and, you take that white shirt off. We look pretty dang similar. You're probably in a little better shape than I am, but we're all people at the end of the day, man. And the logos, the colors, the entities that we may work for, that's secondary, man. And so treat people the way they deserve to be treated, kindness first. Now, does that mean you can't have some good old banter and college football fun? Absolutely not. I encourage it, and we have plenty of it. A lot of dumb wagers are made on our channel. We've had people singing fight songs of rivals, and guitars get broken out. We've had a lot of fun on there, man. It really, really has. I have a tattoo on my thigh right now because I lost a bet on Twitter that I made with myself. So we try to keep it loose. We try to have some fun, and of course, it's all going to be revolve around sports, but not just college football, NFL, basketball. College baseball, and again, I'm a big golf guy, so plenty of golf content on the channel too.
Awesome. And the thing is, I'm glad that you gave me that compliment and said, man, you're probably in a lot better shape than I am. I don't know about that, dude. I love to eat, bro. So I'm glad. It's probably the opposite, but I'm thankful for the compliment. Man, it's just fun talking about college football. And I know that you say you're a Texas guy, so we're going to lead into that. And before we lead into Texas's outlook on the 2025 season, you told me you had some news before you went on, before we talked about and recorded on there. And you talked about it a little bit last night. Talk about that, and let's discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for that. Really, really cool for me. When I got into Texas football, I never thought I'd be on forums, reading boards, or watching YouTube podcasts. It's cool to see how far it's all grown. But I didn't really get into the media side of the Texas sports stuff until 2012. And that's just me being a subscriber of a particular website. And I start to keep up with their recruiting info and make some connections there. And I love the guys, to be honest. And I thought they did a great job. I've stuck with them ever since. And so I'll say this, man, getting a DM the other day from their boss man, Mr. Eric Naline, talking about potentially adding me to their team at InsideTexas.com. And I mean, it was a bit of a dream come true just from a college football standpoint because, again, I have a high respect from them. I love Texas football. I love talking about it, man. I do it all day, every day. So to do it on a bigger platform and with the guys at Inside Texas and to say that I am officially a part of that team and can say that now, I've been trying to hold it in for, 72 hours, man. It feels really, really good. And so thank you to Eric and thank you to Justin Wells, Ian Boyd, the whole team at Inside Texas for having me join them. I will be running 3 shows a week through their YouTube channel. I will be a Thursday pregame show, a Sunday postgame show. Wednesdays we'll do kind of a around the SEC, around the conference, or whatever is relevant in the college football landscape. So really just proud and honored that they'd make that call, man. And so that's something that is official. And by the time people are seeing this, I'll have already posted about it a couple times on Twitter and through my own socials. But my friend, are the first time that I'm saying this on video to anyone. So
That's an honor, and it's an honor to hear that. Congratulations on that, man. And it's really, really special. I know the Lord's blessed you with that for sure. And I'm thankful for you coming on and sharing that news. That's really, really awesome. And congratulations again. And
thank you.
leading into that, let's talk about the outlook for Texas in 2025, right? Week
Right.
one matchup against Ohio State. They got a big second, I would believe, second to last week game against Georgia, right? They got some key games on their schedule. How are you seeing Texas, overall, from an overall standpoint in 2025? Do you think that this is going to be, everybody's kind of blowing them out of proportion in some areas? Or do you think, like, okay, this may be the year where we're about to go win the whole freaking thing?
Listen, man, I fully comprehend how polarizing, Texas is as a brand, and it's so fun to get into the ins and outs of, are they worth the hype? Are they not worth the hype? And for me, the thing that gives me the most confidence about Texas is, like, of course, you look at this ball club and you're like, yeah, there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of unprovenness, especially to people outside of Austin, Texas. Maybe the people that don't follow recruiting quite as much. And I understand that. I agree with you. I think there are a ton of question marks about Texas. There are a lot of guys that are going to have to step up and make their own names for themselves. We did lose a lot of production. But my argument would be is that if you look across the country, you look across the college football landscape, there are a lot of big-time programs with big-time goals and aspirations this year that have just as many question marks, if not more, than Texas. I think we're a little bit better built to answer some of these questions due to our coaching continuity. Having both coordinators, obviously Sark, and Kyle Flood, and then on the other side, Coach PK. That continuity matters a lot. You look at a program like an Ohio State, who's going to be, replacing offensive line coach, an OC, first-time OC and Brian Hartline, defensive coordinator. Just not quite the same as what we're bringing into that setting. And I feel that way, about a lot of the schedule. Just the modern era of college football, man. Coaches are bouncing, players are bouncing all over. We've done a really good job retaining players in the portal, keeping guys around that we really, really need. Of course, there's times where you have to let guys go to fit the numbers. But ultimately, man, I have a lot of confidence in Arch Manning's progression throughout the season. I think that we'll see some early mistakes. I think I've been predicting a bit higher interception total for him than most Texas media related folks. So maybe he proves me wrong. But I'm not to say that Texas can't win games as Arch Manning is figuring things out. We're going to have a very, very good defensive line, the front seven for Texas. I mean, probably the most talented front seven Texas is ever going to have trotted out. And when you look at that, you don't have to send extra guys to the quarterback. You can reach the pass rusher just sending your standard 4 guys, maybe even 3 guys at times, depending on some of these creative packages I'm hearing about coming out of camp. But you do that, it makes everything a lot easier on the back end. And so I don't expect to see much of a fall off, if any, from Texas on the defensive side. And I think, again, if you look at 2024 Texas, it wasn't a team that lit it up offensively. A team that was carried by a very good defense at times and a sporadic quarterback play, a run game that was inconsistent. And so I'm sitting here looking right now, and I'm like, okay, we got a quarterback that's going to have to figure some things out. Might not be perfect. We have a run game with 4 or 5 new O-line starters that might take some time to gel and figure out. Kind of same makeup as the team of last year, in my opinion, but with higher upside on the offensive end.
Right. And you're right. I mean, and the schedule, I mentioned the schedule just a minute ago. It's after Ohio State gets a little bit more favorable, right? Ohio State, right off the bat, that's probably the biggest opener. And right off the bat, when I mean right off the bat, I mean literally right off the bat, 11 a.m. Central kick in the shoe, right? So then you got San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston, which usually, look, that's not a knock at the other teams. I'm just saying we expect them to be Texas to be heavily favored in those games. Then you get Florida and OU, and Florida could be a tricky one, right? Florida could be a really, really good team, and that could get you and surprise you, and it's in the swamp too. So you could qualify that as a trap game. Would you not?
I every Saturday morning I do a segment with the Southern Gentleman Sports Show, and it's a lot of guys out of Florida. The radio station is based out of Florida, and I promise I'm not saying this just to appease those guys. I think Florida will be a more difficult game for Texas than Ohio State will be. I know that might sound crazy on its face, but more experience for DJ Lagway playing in the swamp. There's continuity on that coaching staff. I actually pretty high on Florida this year, especially on the defensive line. And so for again a young quarterback, it's only going to be a second road start ever. It's going to be a ruckus environment, and as importance of the games go, I mean I think Florida is a game that I need Texas to win much more. Obviously, being a conference game. Than Ohio State, and so I'm with you on that, Joel. Florida has all of Ghost's attention.
Right, and that's y'all's first conference game. That's Texas's first conference game. The only thing about Florida that needs to get figured out is their O-line. If they get the offensive line clicking, then they're gonna, they're ready for battle. Florida's first conference game is against LSU on the 13th, so that's going to be an interesting one, from an LSU fan's perspective as well, for all the LSU fans out there. But then you got OU and the Red River rivalry right after that. So that's something you got a trap game, and then OU and Oklahoma is going to be really, really good. So that's an interesting case there.
That one's tricky, brother. And a lot of people I don't think are giving that one much respect for Texas. A lot of people just thinking Venables is kind of dead in the water there. And that Texas is going to just kind of do what they've done the last 3 seasons to those guys. And I'm telling you right now, man, it's going to be a very difficult ball game for Texas. We go to the Gators, the swamp, the week before we play Oklahoma. Guaranteed to be a dogfight, a very physical game, and you're going to have to go tackle a big specimen like DJ Lagway for 3.5, maybe 4 hours, and then turn around and come back and get emotionally ready for, in my opinion, the second best, if not the best, rivalry in all of college sports. There's a lot that goes into that game, man. You look at the way Texas went out against Oklahoma last year. We had Georgia the week after that, and we looked like we had no pulse whatsoever when the Dogs came to town. We've played a step slower, and I don't think it was necessarily from us being physically just worn down, because we only really played about 3/4 of football against Oklahoma there and really didn't have to do anything crazy after the second one. That's a tough stretch, man. People aren't going to pay that the credit that it's due, in my opinion. But at Florida, followed up by Oklahoma, while Oklahoma gets Samford at home the week before Texas, it's a major advantage for the Sooners. But a game that I expect Texas to win.
And not only that, you look at that and you Mateer, Ott, on the offense, that's going to be a really big dynamic duo, or you expect it to be a dynamic duo. We don't know until kickoff Saturday, but you expect that to be a really, really good offense that the Texas defense is going to have to face. Then you got Kentucky, then Mississippi State, which I think y'all would be heavily favored in those games. Vanderbilt, even though they lose a little bit of production, you still got that dog in Diego Pavia at quarterback. So, that's always going to be, even though it's in Austin, it's always going to be a trickier game. And then you have Arkansas and A&M, right? You close A&M out the season. I'm going to end it with this one. November 15th before Arkansas, and then you ended at A&M on Black Friday. I believe it's a Black Friday game, the 28th. You get Georgia, and a game where Texas is like, okay, we got to figure out a way to beat Georgia. So, in Sanford Stadium too, nonetheless.
It's going to be a fun, man. You talk about their very, very long winning streak that those guys have. Now, Georgia does have a couple of tough home games for Texas, but personally, I want that win streak to be intact. Just for the storylines alone. You got to get through Kirby, but I'm going to be honest with you, man. I have not dropped my season prediction for Texas on the channel, but plan to do so, tonight. So I'm comfortable telling you I have Texas going 11-1 and losing to Georgia. I think that just Kirby, the Dogs at home, mixed with what I think by that time of the year is going to be a pretty dang strong run game, a really solid wide receiving core. A lot of people, in my opinion, are kind of underselling on the Georgia Bulldogs, which is really, really odd considering they've won the SEC several times here in the last handful of years and have a couple of natties as well.
Absolutely. Georgia is one of those teams where, because I have Texas and LSU in the SEC championship. In the Pigskin Frenzy conference standing projections, Texas over LSU in the title game. But Georgia's number 3, and Georgia is still in the back of my head. I don't know why, but they are. They're just in the back of my head. I just feel like Georgia is one of those teams where we can probably leave them like the first one out of the title game in the SEC. Mm-hmm. But they also will creep up on you and say, hey, you forgot about us, right? And we're going to make you pay because you forgot about us. Georgia is one of those teams, and Kirby is one of those coaches. So
It's all, in my opinion, I think the run game's going to be pretty dang good, and as time goes throughout the year, wide receiving room much improved, much. If you heard Kirby talk about his wide receiving room today in press conference, he doesn't normally offer that amount of praise to his wide receiving rooms in the past at Georgia. But I think it's all going to fall in the arm of Gunnar Stockton. He has to stay healthy once, because I think for that offense to reach its peak, they're going to have to use his legs on the ground game, obviously. I'm not completely sold on Gunnar. I'm still going to need to see it as far as a passer goes. But again, man, it's been a long time since these guys played football last year, and I'm not going to write off a big growth for him because truly, I mean, that's where he needs to grow to keep Georgia back in that national title picture. And so if he's taken a stride at all whatsoever in the passing game, yeah, Georgia's going to be absolutely around.
And they got Zachariah Branch at receiver too, and he could be a good slot threat as well. And he's real fast. So coming in from USC, so that's going to be interesting. Dynamic there, yeah.
Great tight end room. Yeah, to Zachariah Branch. Dylan Bell's going to be a really good player this year. I know he had an issue with drops last year, but I as a prospect, think he's going to be fantastic. I'm there are other wide receiving rooms around the country that I'd rather face. I'll say that.
Absolutely, that's going to be a good game against Texas for sure. That's one that everybody's got circled on there, especially because it's like, okay, Texas needs to figure out a way to beat Georgia and get over that hump, right? So that's one game that's circled right on the calendar. So that's really the outlook for Texas. Let me guys know what you think. If it's an easier schedule, if it's a harder schedule, I think there's some hard games on that schedule that a lot of people are kind of just overlooking by the Sam Houstons, by the San Jose States, by the Vanderbilts, right? And I think that a lot of people are overlooking some of those key games that, hey, Texas has got some games on that schedule where they could lose. So I don't know.
I mean, you look at it, in my opinion, and it comes down to 4 really key games, Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, and A&M. And I think if Texas goes 2-2 in those 4, which Georgia's not at home, Oklahoma's not at home, Florida's not at home, only A&M's at home. You got the neutral site with OU. If they go 2-2 in those games, they're going to make the college football playoff because, I mean, you potentially lose a game with Ohio State. You're 9-3 at worst. It's not the most difficult schedule, but there, like you just said, there are potential for some just straight up losses where you just don't have to do anything fluky. You just got outplayed by good teams. Now, I will say this: we are traveling more than any other SEC team in the country as far as hopping on the old planes and traveling this country. But I'm not making excuses, man. I'm just saying, when defending our schedule, I'll bring up almost anything.
You're absolutely. That's good. Hey, fight for your team, man. It doesn't matter. Fight for your team. No excuses made. Just fight for your team. I love that, man.
Amen.
Let's talk about the overrated, underrated teams in each Power 4 conference. I know we were mentioning Georgia and going off at Georgia a little bit on the Texas overlook, but let's talk about overall college football now. Just overall. Overrated, underrated teams in each Power 4 conference. We'll start with the ACC, and just why not? Savannah 2J, cover her ears. I mean, but we'll talk about the ACC. I know she loves the ACC. I'm having her on my show Thursday. Relax. We love 2J here. So go ahead, ACC.
All right, one overrated team I'll go with is Miami. I'm not totally bought in on Carson Beck. I think the offensive line will probably be the best in the ACC, but I don't think that defense is necessarily going to be improved enough to keep them out of a bunch of shootouts. Kind of what they're getting into last year with Cam Ward, which they're a lot of fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. But as far as Miami, the schedule is pretty weak. I will say that, but I have them dropping games to Florida. I have them dropping games to Florida State, which, I mean, if you said that to a Hurricane fan, they'd probably disagree with you. But I'm just not really a big believer, man. If I had to pick the most overrated, I would go with them. And then most underrated, it's going to sound crazy, man, but I'm going to say SMU. I mean, calling a college football playoff team underrated, yeah, but nobody talks about them. I feel like nobody talks about SMU in the in the ACC. I get why, because they're nowhere near the Atlantic coast. But I'm really big fan of Kevin Jennings. I'm a big fan of what SMU has at the tight end position. I love the defense. Their front seven has experience. They lost a little bit, but did pretty well in the portal. I know that's not really a fair underrated, so I'll try to throw you one more in there. But actually, Syracuse, man, I have them beating Tennessee in week 1. Don't rule out Syracuse potentially backdooring and playing for an ACC title and having a shot to play in the college football playoffs.
I might clip that into a reel, ladies and gentlemen. That was a segment
Bro,
at least. This is a bomb. He just dropped a bomb on it. Syracuse beating Tennessee. Syracuse is a good team. I've said that plenty of times on my show. I don't know if you've heard me say it, but I've said it plenty of times that Syracuse is doing something. I mean, Fran Brown's an amazing head coach. And the
agreed.
thing is, I don't have spoiler alert. It's not a Pigskin Frenzy covers game for week 1, but I I think I'll just go leave it at this. I think the over and under a little bit is favoring Tennessee a little bit too much. I think Syracuse is going to make that game a little bit close.
I do, man, and I don't want to sound like a Tennessee hater or anything. I'm a huge fan of Josh Heupel's system. I love how he just creates a massive natural built-in advantage in his run game. And throughout the year, I think Tennessee is going to be fine. I really do. I have the Vols at 8-4, which, considering where their expectations were a year ago compared to now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think moving away from Nico Iamaleava is going to turn out to be a very positive for that program. I just think, in game 1, like you said, against a man, Fran Brown, who's had all off season over there to scheme for a Tennessee offense that might struggle a little bit. I think we see a low scoring game, but yeah, I'm going to take the orange to beat the old Vols.
Man, that's an upset. That would be that would create some splash a little bit in week 1 too.
I told you we try to keep it fun.
Absolutely, yeah, it would. It would be like right off the bat an upset at 11 a.m. That's crazy, but overrated and underrated in the ACC in my thoughts. So I would say overrated. I'm going to have to go with what you said. I think Miami, out of the top 10, and I've said this before, I think Miami's the most overrated in the top 10, I believe. I
agree.
I think that Carson Beck he needs to play like he did in 2023. Will the 2023 Carson Beck please stand up, right? That's what we're all saying. We have to figure out, is he going to be healthy all the way through, and is he going to be like he was at Georgia in 2023 at least? I don't know. We don't know. I think Miami is going to be the most overrated team in the ACC for me. Now, underrated, this is not me pleasing her, but I think NC State's going to be underrated. And this is my honest thoughts. I think that, and shout out to 2J, I'm not saying anything, is wrong. I just think that NC State's going to be a sleeper. I really do. Me and Tim Brando talked about it on, past couple of weeks ago. Go back and listen to it. I think CJ Bailey can be a really, really good quarterback for this team. I really do. I think Justin Jolly as a tight end is going to be really dynamic for them as well. I think the O-line is going to be good, obviously, and I think that the D-line has a shot at, splashing as well. I think CJ Bailey is going to be one of those quarterbacks that are quietly good that you don't really talk about. So give me him underrated for NC State. I'll go one more underrated. I think Duke's going to be underrated. I really do.
Agreed.
I think Manny Diaz and Duke have a shot at making a splash as well. Darian Mensah coming in from Tulane is going to be unique and dynamic. So I think Duke, for me, is going to be an underrated team as well in the ACC. Let's move on and let's talk about Big 12. I think it's going to be a deep conference. We saw Farmageddon Week 0. You probably already saw my conference standing projections for the Big 12, maybe. We'll talk about that in a minute. But overrated and underrated in the Big 12.
So it's not really fair for me to say this, but you can go back on Ghost and Friends, peep last week's episode of our big prediction show, and I did say I am not falling for the K-State hype. I did not buy Avery Johnson as a passer. I do not think he is as bad as that game showed the other day in Dublin. The weather was horrible. He had a lot of receivers dropping passes. I'm not putting that game fully on him, but was he impressive? Absolutely not. I still think due to the scheme and K-State being a very proud program that they'll get back in that race potentially, but that would have been my number one. I'll try to come up with one more quick one. Personally, man, I don't have Arizona State getting back to Dallas and playing in the Big 12 championship. I think Sam Leavitt struggles a little bit more without Big Cam Scatabo. I mean, I obviously got to witness firsthand, what can happen when you try to tackle that guy for 4 quarters. It wears on a defense, man. Texas played almost flawless 3.5 quarters of defensive football. And then one play happened from midfield on a 4th and 2, and it was like we just absolutely had nothing left. But they were tired. They were a very, very tired group. And so Sam Leavitt running around, will it have the same effect after defenses have been trying to tackle Cam Scatabo on 1st and 2nd down for 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters? What is his scramble, his backyard football like? I love Coach Kenny Dillingham. maybe my favorite coach in college football outside of Steve Sarkisian, but that's, I mean, a little bias goes into that one. So a big fan of the guy. I think he offsets the loss of Cam Scatterbo some, but I don't think it's to the extent of where Arizona State is back in Dallas and competing for another Big 12 title and then obviously making the college football playoff. Underrated, man. I don't see. I've been trying to talk myself into Baylor here. I really have been. Love the wide receivers. Like what they're going to do at offense with Sawyer. I think they'll have a really good group. But I'm just not very sold on their secondary, man. For the last couple of weeks, I've had them beating Auburn. Bad news out of Baylor's safety room today. They're going to be out their best safety in that game. It's just one game, though. They're going to have to need the injuries to stay. They got to stay healthy is my point. Stay very healthy in the secondary. It's hard for me to call them underrated, but my winner is Texas Tech. I think Tech is going to have the best defensive line in there. I think Tech, in my opinion, has the deepest wide receiver room. I think they've got plenty of options there. They did lose Quentin Joyner in the running back room as RB1, as a guy that I thought had a chance to be all conference. But I think by scheme alone, similar to like a high pole offense, not the same scheme, but a natural built-in advantage there for Kitley, that they are able to run the football pretty well in times. And so it's all on Barrett Morton. Can he be consistent enough to take advantage of a really good defense for Tech? Because I think they'll be in a lot of good shape. So, as far as field position, they'll have opportunities. But curious to hear who you have, because I still love the Big 12 conference, and it might be my favorite conference in college football.
Absolutely. Big 12's deep, man. It's deep, like really deep. I'm going to go for overrated. For me, I'm going to have to go with, I hate saying it like this, I'm going to have to go with Arizona State a little bit. I think Arizona State's going to be a good team, but I don't understand all like the dynamic hype about it. And I love Arizona State. I have them fourth, in the conference, or I had them third in the conference standing projections. I had Texas Tech at 4, but I think they're going to be good. But I don't get the how they were last year hype. Let me just put it that way. They're going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be like they were. Right? That's overrated for me. I'll give you 2 underrated. Actually, you know what? I'll give you 3. I'll give you one. I'll give you a third one because I'm just in a great mood. Right? I'm going to go with Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is going to be a really good football team. B-Ray Morton at quarterback is going to be solid. I think Baylor's going to be a good team. I think a lot of people are sleeping on TCU. I think Josh Hoover and with Sonny Dykes and that offense, I think he's got a really good shot at, breaking out a little bit. We're going to see, what happens on Monday with Bill Belichick, but I think TCU's got a shot as well.
I'm telling you right now, they better win, man. Hoover, obviously a lot of experience there. Hoover and Dykes have to win right now for TCU. This is a make it or break it year as far as Sonny Dykes. I know that he just came off a college football national championship appearance, but this league, brother. So what have you done for me lately type of situation?
Absolutely.
And with the evolving NIL, situation, and especially in the state of Texas and what Texas Tech is doing and what Baylor is doing, what Texas is doing, what Texas A&M is all doing on the recruiting trail, TCU they're going to have to rally the ponies, pass the hat a little bit, and I'm just not completely sold that they're willing to do so for Coach Dykes yet. They want to see him prove it just one more time, which is it's tough, man. I mean, took TCU won a playoff game, first program in the state of Texas to do so, and rumblings are a couple years later, if he doesn't have a good year, that he might not be employed by Texas Christian University anymore.
Man. And I hope not, because I like me some Sonny Dykes, man. And I like me some Kenny Dillingham. That's not me, calling Arizona State, bad or anything. I think they're going to be a good team. I don't get a lot of the hype going into this season after they made the playoffs. I know because they just lost some key pieces, and it's kind of hard for me to sit there and think, okay, can they make that run again? But teams to keep an eye out really quick, and then we'll move on to the Big Ten and SEC. From this past weekend, I don't know if we saw what Kansas did, but if Kansas can do what they did against Fresno State in the Big 12, the Jayhawks may be a team to watch out for. And then Utah. I think Utah, Kyle Whittingham coming back into everything, Devin Napier being their quarterback from New Mexico coming in. That could be a unique team for the Utes this year too. So let's just keep an eye out on those teams.
I like it, man. I don't know if you saw the tweet. I posted my 5 just personal favorite college football coaches 3 weeks to a month or so ago, and I had Dillingham up there, and I also had Kyle Whittingham up there. Just love the tough-minded football that they play. You know what I mean? They play smart, they play disciplined, they play very, very hard. I think their fan base is very underrated. I think it's a tough place to go play, especially for these Big 12 opponents who, obviously altitude a little bit different, but I like that pick, and I think that's another team that's being slept on. I agree with you. Not the same success they had for a couple seasons. Obviously talking about making some Rose Bowls there. Fell off a little bit in the Big 12, but of course, Cam Rising was a quarterback that was very, 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 very rarely healthy, and I hated that for the guy, former Longhorn. And so you can't knock the use for that. Now you've got a quarterback they're excited about. So yeah, wouldn't be surprised at all to see Utah end up playing for a Big 12 playoff or championship and college football playoff.
Absolutely, and Utah, they can sneak up on you. They've done it before, so we'll see what happens with Utah. I'm curious about them. Big Ten. Let's go with the Big Ten. Overrated, underrated for what's going on down there for the Tony Petitti and the conference in the Big Ten.
Well, I mean, I've already said it, so I guess I can say it again. I have Illinois playing in the Big Ten championship game, brother. I think the schedule is very, very manageable for the Fighting Illini. They've got one really, really, game where you look at it and it's like, oh, they probably lose that one, and it's at Ohio State. But hey, if they can just do the top of that conference, they're all going to beat up on each other a little bit. But Illinois doesn't really have to play everybody there at the top of that conference. They're going to have some tough games like in Nebraska, like in Indiana, some games where they'll be in dogfights because they're not really built to run away from those teams. I think Indiana on the road for them, I really love that matchup early in conference. I think Kirk Cignetti is a really good coach, but they are losing a lot from last year's team. I don't think Indiana should be ranked. I think that they will make a bowl game, but that we see their best football play later in the year, and that Brett Bielema is going to have Illinois just ready, riled up for that game, brother. I like Illinois a lot this year. I actually have them playing in the Big Ten championship. Yeah, a lot of people are high on them. They returned 17 starters, but I just don't think that they're being talked about, obviously, the same way that your Penn State or your Ohio State, your Oregon, even your Michigan, are. So I'm going with Illinois for my underrated team. And I just had to make that hot take. I had to tell you that I have them in the Big Ten championship. As far as overrated, I love Coach Dan Lanning, and he will eventually be, in my opinion, a national title-winning head football coach. But I'm just not a big fan of Oregon's upside this year. I'm not really bought in completely on Dante Moore. I'm going to have to see him protect the football a little bit more. Then they lost one of my favorite high school prospects ever, Evan Stewart, obviously transferred over from Texas A&M. They lose him throughout early summer. That's going to be a tough blow for the Oregon offense, man. It really, really is. It's going to throw another Texas high school football recruit, DeCorian Moore, a little bit into the fire, and I think he'll eventually be very, very good there at wide receiver. But I like the offensive line. I don't love it. Defense, I think they'll be pretty good. So if defense can carry them, they can probably still get to 10 wins. But I have Oregon at 9-3. Not a bad season, but when you talk about an Oregon fan's expectations and desires for this year, I'm just not fully, I'm not on the same level of upside as they are.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think overrated for me would be Oregon. And I have them at number 3 in the Big Ten conference standing projections. I think they're going to be okay, and I think they're going to be good enough to make the top 3. I just think that I don't really see them being like they were last year. Number 1 in the college ball playoff, right? And going to the Rose Bowl against Ohio State, and where we know how that turned out. But I don't really see that from Oregon. And you touched on it because I was thinking, okay, Ghost has been listening to Pigskin Frenzy for some reason because it's the offensive line, man. I think the offensive line is one of those things where for them, they just need to get a little bit more depth on the O-line and just kind of figure it out, right? Kind of build some chemistry there and just figure it out and get everything going there. I think the O-line is going to be the biggest question mark for Oregon this year. Now, underrated, 2 teams underrated for me. I think Illinois is going to be one of them. I really do. I think and it's not me saying that because I'm an hour and a half out from Champaign. I'm in Central Illinois for those who don't know. You probably already know, but I'm an hour and a half out from Champaign. It's going to be lively down there. I know it is because Illinois is going to be really, really good this year. I'm high on them. I think they have a really good shot at competing for a Big Ten title. Now, underrated again, I said it the other day, Washington is going to be a really good team. I think depth is their issue. Yes, because they need to stay healthy. But if they stay healthy, man, they can win 10 games with that offense. I mean, Damon Williams Jr. at quarterback, Denzel Boston at wide receiver. They got some talent. Coleman at running back. I think they have,
Yep.
they have a really, really good team. So if they can just stay healthy, the Huskies can produce a 10-win season and make some noise.
I'll tell you right now, just there's random college football fans or college football programs that you just look at and you're like, I like college football a little bit more when this team is good.
Yeah.
And even after they beat us in the college football playoff, I still feel this way about Washington. I love going up there to Husky Stadium. I think it's one of the coolest backdrops in all of college football. But yeah, Purple Rain, dude. It would be really cool if the Huskies made a little bit of noise in the Big Ten there, and they are going to have a very, very fun offense. But yeah, health is going to be everything for them because when healthy, they'll be fun to watch. But one of those situations where if you have an injury or two, the wheels could fall off quickly because, like you said, they're still building that depth up there, and it's gonna look pretty dang good there in a couple of years under Coach Jay Fish.
Absolutely, man. Dude, Jed Fish is going to be. Oh, man, I ain't going to lie. Jed Fish, shout out to him, man. Coach Fish doing what he's doing at Washington. He's building. Let me just put it that way. He is building. Let's talk about the
I'm a
SEC.
fan.
Let's talk about the SEC last but not least, and then we'll talk about one more thing and wrap up. But the SEC, who's your overrated, underrated?
And I think I'm going to do a good job of protecting myself here when I get to the underrated part. But we'll start with the overrated side. And I'm going to say Oklahoma. And do I think Oklahoma will be much improved? Yeah, I do. I really do. I think the defensive front seven is going to be pretty dang good, especially when you bring in the depth. Maybe an issue at safety and at cornerback too there, but I'm not buying the hype on the O-line, man. They just dropped the depth chart today, and you're starting a true freshman at left tackle, who I'm very high on, Mike Fasusi. He's going to be a fantastic player for Oklahoma out of Louisville, Texas. But they've got a defensive end conversion to tight end who has been named as tight end one. And this offensive line, I mean, it hasn't lived up to the hype of years past. It's not your standard Oklahoma line. A lot of issues last year with Coach Bill Bedenbaugh's group, who's been he's a fantastic coach. So would it shock me to see that he became or got a little bit more out of this group than what I'm expecting? Absolutely not whatsoever. But I think that it's just a tough situation for OU to be in, man. You've got Arbuckle coming in a first-year SEC offensive coordinator, different type of cats running around the defensive line, the front sevens, and then the defensive backfields and what he's seen before. John Mateer, same exact scenario. And so the offensive line, I don't love the depth. If they can stay very, very healthy, maybe I give them a chance to win 8 games. But I have them a ceiling of 8-4, a floor of 6-6, and I'm going to go more towards our floor right now just because I know there's a lot of excitement, man. I get it, but I'm not buying John Mateer to be a Heisman. I think Deion Burks needs to be a wide receiver too. To be honest, of these big programs to really, reach his upside, there's going to be so much attention on that guy. So does somebody else step up? Does somebody else make plays? Javonte Barnes was named RB1 today. Jaden Ott still a little bit banged up. When is he back and ready to go? And so I do have them winning the Michigan game, man, but I think starting with the Auburn game, I start to see, not the wheels fall off, but maybe some cracks in whatever surface Brent Venables has left. And truth be told, brother, I'd prefer they show up to Dallas unbeaten, and we have a 5-0 Texas and 5-0 Oklahoma, because that's my favorite day of the year, brother. That's Christmas to me. I want that. I just don't know. I just don't expect to see it, man. I truly, truly don't. Throw you one more overrated, and I'm sorry, but I'm just not buying in Brian Kelly and the run defense of Blake Baker. It's going to be better in year 2, man. But like you said with Arch Manning, much earlier, how fast and how good, how big of improvement does that defense have under Blake Baker? Are they disciplined in the run fits? Does running quarterbacks absolutely, are they kryptonite to an LSU defense they were last year with Lenore Sellers and a Marcel Reed? I'm used to LSU being bullies, physical, nasty, arrogant on defense. They dance, and I love it. That's LSU football to me, and I haven't seen that under Brian Kelly on the defensive side. I like Blake Baker. I just, on the offensive line, I don't know if they have the ability to take advantage of the aforementioned weapons, man, because, yeah, they have as good a skill position room as anybody else in the country. Huge on Duncanville's Caden Durham. That's a fun running back to watch in the open field. And then you've got a billion wide receivers that are all much faster than I am. I think Sharp, an Oklahoma transfer, are going to be great at tight end. You've got weapons, man, but can you get the tough yards and the hard moments? Can you pick up the 3rd and 2, the 4th and 1s? that you're going to see against some really good SEC defenses. And so I love LSU football, man. I think LSU football makes college football a much better place, especially in the last 20 years, 30 years. LSU has become one of the new bloods. I just not a believer in Brian Kelly. I have the Tigers going 8-4. I could be wrong on both. I will say that LSU could definitely prove me wrong there. Underrated, man. And this is where I think I'm covering myself, but I think the most underrated team in the conference is going to be Texas A&M. A lot of experience amongst that offensive line. They added very, very good weapons through the transfer portal and KC Concepcion. That's a big addition. Mario Craver's coming over from Mississippi State. It's a big addition. Le'Veon Moss, if healthy, is one of my favorite 3 running backs, I think, in the SEC. And then on the defensive side, this is still not going to be your Mike Elko defense that they had under Jimbo Fisher for a couple of those years, or that he had at Notre Dame. I still think they fall somewhere, in between probably 25 and 40 in overall team defense by year's end. But they will be better in spots. The secondary, I think, is the big question mark. I think we actually see better production out of Cassius Howell than we saw last year out of Nick Scorton or Shamar Turner. So yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm pretty dang high on A&M, and I love Mike Elko as a football coach.
That's a good one. I like those. I really do. I think underrated for me would be A&M. I agree with you on that. I think the only question for me is O-line, and I know their O-line's going to be good, but if they do get banged up in the trenches, do they have, 2, 3, 4 more guys to come in rotating in and out? I don't know if they have that. I mean, yeah, I know they didn't have it in Texas, but I guess that's the only question for me on that. Other than that, I think they're going to be solid. And I think Marcel Reed as a passer, overall, I guess, an efficient passer, can he be a lot better? Now, I think he can, and if he is, watch out, because A&M will go on a run. I believe in A&M. I'm glad that you mentioned that. That's my underrated team. Overrated for me, I think overrated is Florida, man. And I'm not trying to sit there and say anything bad about Florida. I just think the offensive line is my biggest question mark, and you have to win in the trenches in this league. And I think, to me, Florida can be the most overrated team. I think Lagway's good. The only thing I'm worried about with DJ Lagway, and this is, everyone's going to sit there and think, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. I do know what I'm talking about, because he's played through it, and he had it during the offseason as his injuries. Can he stay healthy enough? Because if he stays healthy, he's one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league, and I think he could be the best quarterback in the league. I'm that high on DJ Lagway. But can he stay healthy? If he doesn't stay healthy, what's Florida going to do? That's all I'm saying. I think overrated to me due to the offensive line, due to health concerns of DJ Lagway. I think Florida's the most overrated team in the SEC. Overhyped. I think they're going to be good. I just think they're going to be a little bit more on the overrated side. But
I mean, I can see it. I absolutely can, because if that offensive line suffers even just one injury, if they lose a swing guy or any depth whatsoever, it could get pretty bad pretty quickly. When you look at that schedule, yeah, man, you better stay healthy. And I never want to wish injuries on kids. I obviously hope everybody stays healthy, but it is part of the makeup of the game, and it is inevitable. We had Quinn Ewers the last 3 years in Austin, and we got very comfortable talking about injuries because it's just kind of part of Quinn's makeup, man. Kids get hurt. It's a violent game, and some kids just get hurt a little bit more often than others do. And it seems that DJ's had, a couple nagging injuries since he got to Florida. And you got to protect that guy, man. If you can't keep him upright, then that difficult schedule that you're thinking, okay, we're a bowl game team at worst. We have a backdoor chance to maybe compete for a conference, title appearance. Yeah, it can get real nasty if DJ's not healthy. But again, man, agree with you on his potential, because he's such a fun guy to watch. You know what I mean? Like, if you'd have taken a DJ Lagway and gone back in time and put him behind some of the lines that like Urban Meyer had at Florida, DJ he'd have been Cam Newton plus a better passer. It's been a lot of fun to watch. I'm a big fan of that kid.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that. That was our overrated and underrated teams for each Power 4 conference. Last but not least, because we're about to wrap up here, what's the most important game for Week 1 coming up this weekend? I know we're getting ready to kick off. We're so pumped about it, and we're fired up. But what's the most important game for Week 1 in your eyes?
I want to say it's Texas and Ohio State, but I genuinely don't believe it, man. Like, I don't believe that is the most important game. Most exciting game, potentially, yeah, of course. Do I personally care about that one more than the one I'm about to talk about? Absolutely. But as far as, having an impact on college football and an immediate impact and what changing particular, individuals' futures, I just think that Clemson and LSU is of greater value. I do. Brian Kelly loses his game and it's on, brother. The noise in Baton Rouge is going to be so dang loud. And let me tell you what, if he wins the game, the noise in Baton Rouge is going to be so dang loud. They want to believe. I want to believe in LSU football. LSU fans, they need to see it. They need to see that defense look better. And if they don't, and it looks bad, they're going to be very vocal about it. Daily Joy has a good friend. Shout out to Daily Joy and her content. She will probably tell you similarly. She is not the biggest believer, but needs to see it, and of course there's a talent on offense, there's a talent on defense. Everybody's so high on Clemson. I have LSU winning. I just sat there and called LSU one of the most overrated teams in the SEC, but I think this is this moment for Brian Kelly where obviously there's a lot of noise around him dropping all these opening games. They have the talent. Depth shouldn't be a big issue in week one, right? Everybody should be healthy. LSU stayed pretty clean throughout camp. And the offensive line, everybody's going to be there, and so those things, man, that just, I feel like LSU has a put it together moment. They look really, really good, and they get the nation very, very hyped up on, go Tigers. Like, I can just definitely see it happening, and I think, Clemson is going to be a dang good football team, but I still think there's a few question marks about the defense that they will be answered throughout the season. I think Clemson, I have them playing deep into the college football playoff. But early in the year, man, I'm just saying that is a massive, massive game for the landscape, because my prediction is if LSU does drop that game, I think LSU probably, in my bold predictions, is going to be looking for a new coach after 2025. That becomes inevitable to me if they drop that game to Clemson. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, man. It's gonna get ugly in a lot of spots. You know what I mean? There's gonna be the 1% of Twitter that they're calling for his head before that. The clock ever runs out if they're behind on that scoreboard. And so I feel for the guy because he is a good football coach, man. I said it when he got hired. I don't think it's a perfect fit. I don't think that it's ever really become much better of a fit. I don't think that relationship is just a beautiful college football. It rarely is, though, right, between a head football coach and the fans. But I mean, LSU, they just always rally behind their guys. Les Miles, man, they love Les. They're all about the Mad Hatter. Obviously, they love Coach O, and he's Cajun as anybody, man. He is LSU in my opinion. I'll never look at at Coach O and think of anything but him being a Tiger. Just, I don't think they had that same love and that natural connection, with a Brian Kelly. And so, yeah, man, if he loses that one, brother, it's just gonna get real, real bad. We know how it is.
What you probably saw was a brief cut. And normally when you have technology and you're recording everything, that happens, right? So we here at Pigskin Frenzy apologize. We had Ghost of Texas Football on, and we had a glorious conversation. It lasted an hour, 7 minutes. But the last minute or two is going to just be me. Technology cut during the recording, so we apologize for everything. We love you all, and we're praying for you all. We're going to deliver this outro. Guys, a big thank you for tuning in to this episode and listening to college football coverage presented by me and Ghost of Texas Football. Go and follow him on all platforms. He is wonderful. He is great. He's a man of faith, and his content is wonderful. Guys, if everybody watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the episode, leave comments down below. Keep on plugging in. Guys, on X and Instagram, at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow up the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college and NFL football. Trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football question, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. The website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There, also follow us and share around with others on X, Podbean, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram, all audio platforms and social medias as well. Guys, big thank you for Goes to Texas Football coming on today. Sorry about the cutout. It happens. That's just what we do with technology. That's just a part of what happens in our space. We We love you all. We're praying for you all, guys. We have a special Wednesday edition of Pigskin Frenzy. You're not going to want to miss it. We've been promoting it all week. Cole Thompson comes on the show tomorrow, and we have a very first time special edition of Pigskin Frenzy ever on Wednesday. You're not going to want to miss it. Cole Thompson from SEC Unfiltered joins the show, gives his thoughts on the outlook of his season for 2025. And we also have a very special episode Thursday. Our very special guest picker, Savannah 2J, comes back on the show, and we're picking week 1 games for Pigskin Frenzy. College football's back. Things happen, so just don't hate me for this. Things happen. We love you all. We're praying for you all. Guys, as always, stay the course.